Vader game.
Check, check, check. Vader Games in the building. My levels better be clean and good. Let me know in the comments if they happen to be off or if the sound needs adjusting. But I am back. Why Always Me, episode 65. Episode 65. And if you checked out the thumbnail, you know what today's going to be all about. Luckily enough, again, I sent out the link to the peeps. I sent the link out to the peeps. And first things first, my peeps come first. Those of you in the comments, hit that like. You know what you got to do. Comment. Let's interact. And if you're new, hit that subscribe button. If you're returning, send this link out. Share it. Share it in those group chats. Share it out. Let's get the combo going. I've got a lot to go over. All right. And I see you guys already here. I have to say, I am so appreciative. So appreciative. Before this show even kicks off, I'm so appreciative. I've hit my 200 target. I've got 200 subscribers. Actually, 202 last I checked. That continues to grow, touches my heart every time. And obviously on to greater things. I am going to shout out, I'm going to highlight every subscriber because luckily enough, when I do get a new subscriber, it comes through as an email. So I know all of you that have supported this channel and I'm very appreciative. So you guys will be highlighted throughout this show. Now, check levels. I'm going to be bringing in panel members as the show continues on. I'm going to point this out. You see the topics right there on the screen. If you're here for the first time, this is new to you, but check out the topics. I'm going to go through all of them. And if you're not new, you know what the deal is, all right? So let me quickly go to the comments. I'm going to quickly go to the comments, and I'm going to have to do this properly. I'm going to have to show you a little bit of Toronto. But before this show even kicked off, my man, FIFA in the building. You see what it is. Thanks for being here, my guy. Asking me or saying hope all is well. Clinical, as always. Big up, guys. If you're coming over from True City Fan Pitch Points channel, amazing panel Q&A. Thank you. Thank you for coming on. Continued city support, city love. And we're going to talk all things, not just city. We're going to talk all things. I like to give a little pinch of salt on the other clubs as well. Let me go to here. Hello, hope you are well. I know no one asked, but I'm doing great. Life is going awesome right now. And me, man, doing a charity run this Saturday. So I'm happy. Hey, FIFA, fitness, charity mixed into one. That's amazing, man. Whenever You guys are in the chat. I'm hoping that you guys are doing well, able to find time to come and have the conversation. And in life, you, family, and friends, I hope that's going well, man. That charity run, that's great. That's great for you to be able to give back. And I see your questions also with regards to donations or super chats or anything of that nature. My channel isn't at that level yet. Obviously, there's a certain threshold for YouTube to be able to make that like an option. Great reminder. I almost forgot to go live on Twitch. My bad, my Twitch viewers. But with regards to support, those have been able to contribute. Obviously, I've got that established on the Twitch channel, but on YouTube, we're getting there, man. We are getting there. What we got here? YSK, big up Vader, gonna relax and enjoy the stream. Yeah, kick up your feet, grab yourself some nicely chilled apple juice or orange juice, whatever it happens to be. Get comfortable. Get comfortable. We're gonna have a great conversation today. I got Daniel. Man, the comments are amazing today. Big up Daniel, coming over from True City Fans channel. Dudley in the building. Good evening, Blues. 100%. Guys, actually, this is going to be kind of funny. And I know Carl would appreciate this because Carl often tells us stories, not to bait him out, but Carl often likes to tell stories about him having ideas. He happens to be in the shower. I guess that's where he does his best thinking. The difference is for me, I was actually cooking last night. Not that I was actually cooking, like I don't cook often, but I was cooking last night and an idea came to mind. And it's going to involve, it's actually going to require 5 other city members. All right. I want a consistent panel of 6, including myself. And there's the way I want to tackle some topics consistently. So I have a really great idea. I'm gonna drop hints on it, but I gotta find the right day of the week and the right time, because I do want these other 5 members to be available consistently. And it doesn't have to be anything long, but I think I got a really good idea that I think I can make kick off. And it'd be great. I think you guys would really love it. So stay tuned for that. True City fan. Yes, Vader. Dudley goes good. We got FIFA. Yes. Twisted, my guy, coming over from Patrick's channel. Just subscribe. Thank you, my friend. If the number was still at 202, now it's at 203. I appreciate that. Franklin Cap, good day. A lot to discuss with City. Absolutely. And you know what? The funny thing is I need to be cognizant of the time, because not only are we going back to back with True City Fans channel, my channel, but this is going to lead right into another city channel with the Mancunian Way. So I want to be cognizant of that time. Yo, Utama, my guy, coming over again. Yo, love. Thank you. YSK, don't we all get the best ideas? You know what? Hey, I'm gonna take that in the purest sense. Yes, YSK, it's true. Our singing is the best in the shower. Ideas come to mind 100%. Welcome, Twisted. Absolutely. FIFA giving love. And Big Morgan. Hi, Vader. Big Morgan's back in the bill and talking it through. Okay, so I got to do it right. Shouted you out in the comments. I'm going to be introducing the panel members, but first things first, my people, you know what we got to do. Let me show you a little bit of the city that I'm from with this intro, and we're going to get into it. Why Always Me, episode 65. Let's go. A little bit of the city life. That's a famous street called Yonge Street that you saw some imagery, as well as the Toronto skyline seen from Toronto Island. So let's get into it. 2 panel members are going to introduce. You know them. If you haven't seen them before, you haven't been on this channel before, but I'm going to introduce you to them properly. Don Smoke, a man of very specific wording. Listen to what the man says. He's with the smoke every time. I first got introduced to him with Have Hope's channel, the Football Hut, and the man always brings it. Amazing City fan, and you're going to enjoy his contribution here. So, Don Smoke, thanks for being on the show, man.
Big up, Vita.
Wicked.
Yeah.
We got a lot to discuss. I'm also going to introduce a man that has his channel as well. That's reached 1,000 subscribers plus. He's doing his thing. He's able to attend games. Being a local fan, the Mancunian Way is a fantastic channel. Not only sub, subscribe and support mine, True City Fan, Pitch Points, but also do the same with the Mancunian Way. Great channel. I'm glad to have him on the channel. I know that I think I only going to be able to get him on voice, and he's got a show right after this one. So thanks for being a part of this one today, Mancunian Way.
Good evening, mate. You all right?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for being on the show.
I apologise in advance if I sound tired.
Hey, no, it's understandable. If it's I know you divulge what you're going through. That's for you to do, but I appreciate you being able to take the time. I know you got a lot. You've got a lot to handle, man. So thank you.
No worries.
So you've heard it, everyone in the chat. Everyone, you've heard it. There's the breakdowns that happen post matches. I often feature on other channels and we have the conversation. So I'm not going to go crazy in depth with what the post match reaction and results were with regards to City versus Arsenal. But I do want to point this out. I do want to point out that City obviously won the first battle of possibly two more versus Arsenal. Okay, in terms of head-to-head matches, City won the first battle. Okay, we dealt with Arsenal in a way that I think many would have expected. It was going to be a battle. It was going to be a chess match. It's going to be a battle of wits, if you want to say. And I also just want to say that the result in itself, we don't have to get too amped up about, and obviously Arsenal and their side don't need to be too down about. But I do want to point out that Arsenal are on our radar. We're clearly aware of the run that they're on. We're clearly aware of the threat that they are posing. Not that they have applied it yet, but they're posing it because again, we haven't faced them yet with regards to the league. I thought that us and that game in the FA Cup was so fitting and needed because it brought the levels of the manager's attention, and the players themselves. But more importantly, the tactics that were applied within that game, I want to say that both managers were playing games in a sense. Both managers knew that there were two more head-to-head matches coming down the pipeline. And yes, they tried to disguise, and I think more so on Arteta's side, Arsenal. They tried to disguise how important this game was, but you clearly saw that after City scored, that they wanted to get a result out of here. And I'm going to call out that I think Arteta had a master class. He's a master in mental gymnastics because the little out that he gave Arsenal from a fan base, they jumped all over it. Don Smoke, I'm going to throw this to you. You could clearly see that Arteta made changes as instantly as we scored because he wanted to get a change from his team. But when obviously City won that matchup, you could see that he still gave the club, the players, and the fans an out with regards to still being optimistic for the next head-to-head. Do you agree with this kind of, hey, I gave my team an out, so psychologically they can still battle or look to battle down the road for this league title?
Who should go first?
Oh, Don Smoke.
I think at the end of the day, right, it was more of an exit strategy for Arteta. In case we lose, right, we can just blame it on, say, we didn't do ABC. At the end of the day, losing does hurt you psychologically. It doesn't matter, especially when there's more than one battle that's going to happen. And we saw it, and I remember with Chelsea, right? There was a game we played Chelsea and we had some weird formation. Pep played a lot of players that weren't first-team players. But the thing is, at the end of the day, it hit a nerve because the next game Pep tweaked because he was like, okay, because the only difference between that game is the players, not the system. Arsenal will probably do the same thing they done there, right? And so will we, and we will also have different personnel, right? So at the end of the day, I feel as if Arteta didn't want to hurt the confidence of the players, because now imagine if they played the first team and lost,
Right.
and they still have
That's
to,
exactly right. Yeah.
and they still have to play us twice. So it's more like, okay, in case things don't go our way, let us have a way of just keeping the guys in there so they can come back for the next fight. That's how I see
Great
it.
point. Great point. And I get it. I get it. They're because Arsenal love to tell us how young of a team they are, right? How young their players are and how they're ahead of schedule with regards to this. I think Arteta, rightfully so, is managing the mentality of these players, is managing some egos, and he knows that he needs to keep them positive regardless of a bad outcome or not. And I think he gave them the right amount of an out as to, hey, this wasn't our strongest 11, but again, it wasn't City's strongest 11 either. So the mental gymnastics is absolutely fantastic. I'm gonna ask this of you, Martin. Did you put a lot of weight on this game wanting the win? Like for you, knowing the run that Arsenal was on, did you say I want to get a positive result against Arsenal going into this match?
Yeah. One, because I think it does. It might not deal the psychological blow that people expected, but it will do. And I also because I love the FA Cup. I just want to win the FA Cup anyway. But generally, I don't think we gave our game plan away too much either.
I'd agree.
Because I know why we did it, but because of Arsenal's man marking. But Ortega's not going to. If we decide to play that same game plan at the Emirates, Ortega's not going to be the one kicking down to Haaland.
Mm-hmm. Great point.
Edison is.
Great.
Totally different ball game.
Yeah, his precision, his decision making, as great as Ortega is, it's not what Ederson's going to do with regards to that.
I thought both managers were very clever in the team selection. City went stronger by all means. Did they throw out their full game plan? No. And I don't buy into this Arteta. I know Arsenal fans, I've heard this week, they don't care about the FA Cup. It's a cup they don't mind. And I've never known a team who's won so little lately be so selective about what they want to win. It kind of makes me laugh, that one. They suddenly turned into Liverpool fans overnight.
Well, Martin, I don't understand, and I'm gonna bring in Gundo as well. I don't understand how a person that's been starving for 18, 20 years is then going to choose not to eat the stale bread that's in front of them. Not to say that the FA Cup is anything stale, but not to eat anything that's in front of them. How are you going to then turn down the FA Cup with regards to, I wasn't really bothered by it. They've been starving for success and trophies, and you're not gonna shun or dismiss the FA Cup. Gundo, I'm gonna throw this to you, my friend. And this is the next topic on the screen. We saw the performance that we got from Ake. We saw what he did against. No disrespect, but many tout him as the best right back within the league right now. We saw what Ake did to Saka. I want you to maybe talk about Ake in terms of the player personnel, player profile, player mentality, and whether you agree or disagree, but Ake, the perfect example of a City player. Can you go into that?
Yes. And thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody else. I mentioned yesterday in the space that there are 4 dimensions of what the club looks like in the player, and even from the U6s through U12s, and one of the dimensions is psychological. That is your behavior on and off the field, how you behave when you're not being played, how you behave when you're being played, how you manage your emotions in between those two phases. It's not me talking. This is on the MCFC player development program that we use every Tuesday and Thursday. We have a session today as well. This is not me, right? One of the dimensions is psychological. And Nathan Ake, over the past 2-3 years, has displayed every single piece of what a City player is. Works hard, supports his teammates, on and off the field, strives to improve. Even when there were rumors of him leaving last year to Chelsea, he always worked hard. He came to training, always with a smile on his face, give his all.
Mm-hmm.
He's magnificent. And we're seeing the results of that now, where the manager's playing him in this new system because of that. Now, I'm not just talking about City. I'm talking about even with the Dutch national team, with Van Gaal in the World Cup. Nathan Ake started with Van Dijk in that back three as a left-sided centre-back playing on that side. So he is just a manager's joy to have on the field. I remember when he was at Bournemouth, I admired him significantly. Even though they played in the back four, he was brilliant on and off the field. And I'm glad that we have him to lean on. So it's just a phenomenal play. Here's an example to young kids. If you ask a young kid, if I'm going to ask my son, hey, look, you want to look at a player to look at for his behavior, look at Nathan Ake. He's an example of what you should be when you grow up. Hardworking, focused, and work with his teammates, and he works hard for the good of the team, even when he's not playing.
Can I just piggyback on that?
Of course.
Just some on Ake as well. Everything you need to know about Nathan Ake, go back to last season in the Champions League. His father was sadly very, very ill and was passing away. And he goes on a football pitch, gives his all, scores a goal, and I think sadly it was the next day or the day after his father passed.
Wow.
And he still rocked out in training. He still did everything he needed to do. And that has been rewarded tenfold. That's all you need to know about this guy's attitude. It is there. He's absolutely there. And it's amazing to see. Because there was a lot of doubters about this lad. A lot of people saying 41 million, waste of money, what we doing? Why are we buying someone from a relegated club? And it's just, wow.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Sorry,
go ahead, Don Flo.
To add to that, I think that with that said, that's why I commend City and the whole organization. The sense that any organization that rewards good work and professionalism, right, it creates a standard, right, that's admired by those. The fact that Pep and Pep openly comes out and praises his work ethic and his maturity, because it also shows a sign of maturity, because this is the opposite of the guy who we don't have to talk about, who's Mr. Cancelo, right? It shows the opposite, whereby you have someone who understands behind the scenes that, okay, at the end of the day, within a squad, there's roles. And roles change. But once you assign a role, you have to play it to your best ability. And that's what you have to understand. That once you've been assigned a role, carry out professionally. And that's what Ake has done to the team. Yeah. And hence he's been rewarded.
Vader, I think the question here for everybody who's watching online, and if you notice the general theme around all these channels that we all talk to, and Mancunian Way, Pitch Points, True City Fan, with all our friends and guests who come on, the optimism is, what do we learn from how we reacted when Nathan Ake joined the club? The fact that he was 41 million was a wasted opportunity, was a wasted player. He's not good enough for us. Look at him now. What can we learn from that experience to where we are today, to apply to where we are today? What can we learn from Jack Grealish's struggles last season to where he is today? Or from Mahrez coming back from a down period for the World Cup to where he is today? What can we learn from Phil Foden performing well last year? Now he has a down period, he's going to be back. Or Rodri's first year to now where he is. The curious thing here, underlying thing here, is that trust the manager, trust the board, trust the organization to get it right.
Yeah.
That's where we need to be, Vader.
It's also important to note, and shout out to Blue Heart and the other comments that I've been posting. you want to, and it was put into the thumbnail. And shout out to those of you that are interacting because of what you see on the socials, or if you're here consistently out of just knowing that I'm posting one show a week. Thank you so much. But my thumbnail was the mental is just as important as the physical. And you have to know that the club is not only going out for when they say profile player isn't just their ability and skill set. It's not just that. We know in professional sports, it encompasses everything. And you sometimes you place bets, you take your chances, and maybe not everything is known, but you do make these guesses on, or you do the research to find these players that are not only going to match what you need from them physically on that pitch, but also what they're going to be able to contribute mentally. And Ake is that example to a T. He's a fighter, and I know from his debut, from his early years at City, many of us had their doubts. I mean, some would kill him and say he should never be here. And when I say kill him, I mean kill him, get him out of the club, not, you know what I mean? But they were killing him in the socials with regards to he's not good enough for us, da da da. But the mentality of this player to continue to fight despite the rough stages, coming to City to prove himself, is exactly why he is phenomenal. And we had this question on True City Fans channel earlier about some underrated players. Ake fell underneath that 100%. He was dismissed. He was like second or third option if players are injured, da da da. But his versatility to be able to play left center back and left back has been phenomenal. And I want to also speak to the mentality of when you're being benched, when it's not your time to really get playing time, but you still remain professional and consistent, to want to show your manager why you deserve to play, why you've earned the play. What Don Smoke just mentioned, when it's built off merit, when it's built off effort and execution, you know where you stand. There's no questions. There's no doubts. I'm not playing because I'm not doing what the manager expects of me. So let me raise my game up. Ake doing that is phenomenal. Now we're going to go right into almost the complete opposite of that with regards to a player that is recently left. Okay. And that topic right there, and I'm gonna go to the comments, bear with me, guys, but you have to go into battle with fighters. You have to go into battle with people that are going to continue to fight despite difficult times, despite an opposition that may be better than you, or despite a moment where you may not be at your best, or people around you are better. You have to be able to fight. And Ake's proven to be that. We've now let a player go in Cancelo that has shown he's not willing to continue to fight to get back into a manager's best graces, or best 11 selection. And I know a lot has been talked about this already, right? Some City fans have had meltdowns. We can't let him go. We need him, but we don't need him if the mentality is not right, because it can be corrosive. It can be venomous. It can be poisonous. You have to let that player go, and you have to trust that the other players around you are going to keep that standard. And I for one, and I've been in the streams with True City Fan, Pitch Points, Don Smoke, the conversations, even Mancunian Way with Martin. I'm one, like many of you, that agree that it was Cancelo's time to go. Don Smoke, can you speak to the importance of going into battle, or going into, whether it's work life presentations, or whether it's just a consistent standard, what it means to go into things with like-minded individuals? Can you speak of that with regards to Cancelo being the right decision to leave the club?
You know, there's two, especially in a man's life, right? There's two very important principles of trust and loyalty, right? Especially if we're going into war, right? If I'm facing my enemy, I don't want to know that my teammate has a knife next to me or a gun pointed at me, because then it's more like, okay, I need to watch my back and look forward, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, especially this part of the season, right? You want to go, okay, you want to know who's willing to go with you into the trenches, right? Because this is where titles are won. Even at work, Imagine, for example, you got a presentation, right? You're planning it with one of your IT guys who works the projector. Everything starts, the stakeholders are there, or potential investors, and deliberately he just turns off the projector. And there you are standing with a clicker and the screen behind is blank.
Yeah.
Right. You understand, it's little things, right? That could cost you your life, or the life of your loved ones. So you need everyone on the same page when you're doing certain things. And if they're not, you want to know immediately before you take that step. Right. And that's why I'm happy I have a manager who there's certain things that are very important to him, right? More than even ability. And it's a mentality. Right. The
Yeah.
reason what the difference between Arsenal this season and last season is mentality. Majority of the players are the same. Liverpool,
Yeah.
same. Liverpool as well. Most of that squad is the same. Just that the mentality is defeated. And eventually, whatever is on your mind will transmit into what you do onto the outside world. As above, so is below. What's up here? Hence, you can have all the ability. Same thing with our dear Mr. Cancelo. He has all the ability, right? His issue was never ability, it's just mentality. When things go wrong, how do you react?
Great
Right.
point. And I want to throw this out to Martin. The performance that we saw from Ake. Absolutely no disrespect whatsoever. But from a shutdown standpoint, would you have ever expected that type of performance from Cancelo? Or are there different attributes to why Cancelo was important to the club?
Different players, like you said,
Okay.
different attributes. Aki's not someone who's going to bomb forward and go on the attack and cut inside and put, slicing passes through for a striker to run out. We all remember the pass to Sterling last year. But but Ake is more of a stable, solid defender. He does his job first, and the thing is, you've got to look at where we're at now, formation-wise. It's changed.
Yeah.
It's just simply changed. And I said last week, and I think I said it on the space yesterday, Cancelo had two choices: swim or drown. He chose to drown.
Mm-hmm.
That's on him. There's nothing. The thing that shows me exactly where we're at is he's come out. City haven't even taken a loan fee for Cancelo.
Yeah.
Bayern are just covering his wages. They're not even going to take a loan fee. It is just out. See ya. Bye.
Yeah.
The swiftness of it was just. Cancelo sadly went to his toy box. And
Good point.
it is what it is. And I don't want to keep sort of going. I don't want to.
No. We're not piling on. Yeah, we're not.
No. I know you're not. I know a lot of people have, and I wish him all the best. And I was pleased that he did a great debut yesterday for him. But the way he played for Bayern yesterday is not the way you'd have him at City right now in this formation.
Yeah.
You're not going to have him flying down the wings on the right and putting it across for Sane. That's just not us right now. Mm-hmm. So, sadly, at the moment, he was, hate to say this, but he was surplus to requirements.
Yeah.
Really hate to say that, but he was.
No, but it speaks to, and I'm going to throw my next point before we go off to the next topic, but it also speaks to Pep in a few post-match conversations with what he said with regards to putting Cancelo in different positions. We've seen it ourselves, Cancelo playing right wing. This year he got the number 7. So we know that Pep was putting him in positions to see whether he could do, I guess, what he's been asking to do, or maybe to see whether he can be put in situations that were more favorable based off of maybe his inconsistencies defensively, maybe to put him in a different setup. But I want to ask this of you, Carl, And the reason why I love your perspective, Don Smoke and Martin as well, but this in particular, from a coach, from a manager standpoint, I want to ask you this before we move on to the next topic. But we want a player to fight. We absolutely do. But is there any instance where a player can direct that fight towards a manager or coach?
No, you shouldn't do that.
Okay.
I mean, the manager is your boss ultimately. Imagine you turn up at work and you start fighting your boss. You're out, buddy. I don't care if you're the most talented person on the team. You start fighting your boss. If they don't back your boss, then the boss has to leave. The boss can't keep a player or employee who fights him there. It's just not going to work. And then you upset the whole balance of the whole organization and the whole team.
Good point. Yeah.
The message a message has been sent that if you don't want to work for your teammates and you don't respect the manager, you're gone. We won't take a fee. We won't take a loan fee. We're going to send your ass send your behind, straight to another club, even to a rival club in the UCL that we want. Because we value professionalism and your work ethic more than anything else, even a trophy.
Right.
That's a message that's been sent.
Yeah.
Yeah. To Gundo's point, you don't fight your manager directly. You fight them indirectly by performing when you get the chance.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Right. That's how you put you basically supposed to doubt his judgment by showing him a different result or a different outcome. Give him something to think about. Right. Not you go directly and tell him this is what you should think about.
Right.
That's not
100%. 100%. And it's such a it's there's the game, there's what happens on the pitch and there's what happens behind the scenes, and both are equally as fascinating. We consume as much football as we can, and even when they have the behind the scenes content, we love that stuff because it gives another glimpse to what it takes to be a footballer, what it takes to be a successful club. And the reason why I threw that last question out to Carl is because the way Cancelo directed the energy was absolutely the wrong way. It's to what you just mentioned, on Smoke. It's on the pitch. It's like, oh, you don't think I'm good against this matchup or I'm good in this role? Let me prove you wrong. Let me continue to work on my game. Like the being questioned or being doubted isn't I'm then done, I'm out the door. It's I'm gonna prove you wrong. And that's the fight. That's the attitude that we need. And that's I think the difference maker between many players that become professional footballers, because we've all seen it. Lots of kids, lots of young boys and girls have talent, have the ability, but what separates them? What's the difference? Often it's the mentality, it's the work ethic. And again, I saw the comments and I see FIFA, I see a few of you in there saying, no, we're not writing off Cancelo. In this instance, he did something wrong. He needed to leave. For this season to progress properly, he needed to be out the door. I'm not forsaking him, but he had to go this year. We'll see what happens.
Well, do you think he's coming back, mate?
No. No.
I don't think he's
do you
coming
think he's
back.
Genuinely come back?
No, I don't believe that he's going to come back. You've crossed the line, all right? Like the manager is going to remain the manager, and you've crossed that threshold to be, this is unacceptable. But to the point is, I'm not killing him for it as a sense of I deleted your account. Everything you've done for us is forgotten.
I'd ask you a question. Name me a player that's fallen out with Pep and played afterwards. That had a major falling out, and Pep remained at that club, and that player still played. I can't think of any. Once it gets there at that stage, similar to Mourinho, these guys can send you to play with the EDS. Like they don't care. Once you've hit a certain threshold, it's done. So as long as Pep is here, Cancelo could come back legally on the books, but on the pitch, he's done for.
Yeah,
he got rid of bigger and better.
Yeah, but again, getting rid of bigger and better is also, it speaks to the consistency with regards to what's acceptable or not. Dudley goes, Cancelo comes first and last. The team should come first. and last. Bayern will find out sooner or later. Hey, if he goes on his best behavior possible and nothing kind of comes up, power to him. But he had to leave our club. What he did had to leave our club. And I see you in the comments. I appreciate it. I love what's going through. Let me go through this as we go into the next topic, and let me do this properly.
Vader game.
Now, I hate saying meltdowns because I feel that it's being overused. But when I look at the timeline, when I see what's happening with some of our fan base, I don't have any other way of describing it. This January transfer window, the dismissal of Cancelo has caused many City fans to have the meltdown, unfortunately. And I just want to point this out. I want to point out that City's patience in this January transfer window is coming from a place of confidence. All right, I'm not going to be too preachy. All right, those of you in the chat, but I do want to say that Arsenal are obviously top of the league. They're our prey. We are now the hunter. We are hunting them down. We weren't in this January transfer window just trying to band-aid fix to try and win this league. All right. There was no reactionary we have to buy. All right. But there was a consistency with regards to how this team is going to be run. It's calculated. It's patient. It's thought through. So if the profile player wasn't available based off of contract availability financially, then it wasn't right to make the call. And this exodus of Cancelo wasn't going to be a knee-jerk reaction to then find someone new. We've talked about it. Carl, Martin, they've broken this down. Our formation, how we're approaching games is very different now. But I want to point out that City fans, let's be calm. The January transfer window is over. Let's be calm. It was done in this way because of confidence and not a overreaction to other clubs.
Yeah.
With regards to, hey, we need to do whatever we can to win this at this point, because there's confidence to know that we have what it takes to win this title. Sorry, go ahead, Carl.
No, I just want to build upon your argument here, because I think there are two things responsible for the quote unquote meltdown, which I've just ignored now because it just makes no sense, right? Number one, Arsenal 5 points ahead. That's one factor. The second factor, and probably the bigger factor, is that Chelsea are going and buying all these players in January. Now, let me remind you this, guys, okay? I saw a report this morning from a journalist that Graham Potter didn't even know Enzo was coming to Chelsea. Or did it? Is that the kind of reaction you want from your board, to just buy a player because they're hot in the World Cup and just plug them in?
Right.
Seriously? What's the plan? Where's he going to play? How's he going to play? What system? Who does he combine with? Is he going to get along with his teammates? All those things, he had no say. He just lands in the dressing room, signs a contract, and bang, there it is. I mean, seriously, guys. Patience. Focus.
It is madness.
If there's any club that exhibits or would be the definition of reactionary, it's Chelsea. This new ownership seems to be purely moving on. I need to do something now. I need to do something now. I see that so often, and I'm later in the show, whether we have time. Go ahead.
Here's how bad it is, right? And I was thinking about it. Hakim Ziyech does not move to PSG because everybody involved were worrying about Enzo Fernandez. Now, let me explain something to everybody out there, right? When you're doing a transaction like this, right, window, there are two teams you set up, an outgoing team and an ingoing team. Everybody has their own, and it's a Chinese wall, right? And it's somebody who runs intermediary. You're telling me that your organization could not get paperwork over to Paris Saint-Germain because they were too busy with the Enzo Fernandez deal? I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Do you know what got me better?
Go ahead.
Is fans were just throwing any name out. Any name. It was like, oh, as long as they're a fullback, we'll have them.
Right.
They could have come up with Jack Jones from Shrewsbury. And now he's not. I don't know if he knows an actual player, but they could have literally come up with Jack Jones from Shrewsbury Town, and fans would have gone, yeah, I love that, because it. And this is my I'm not. Listen, I've had enough of the info in family fighting now. I've done it all season. I've sort of had enough. I'm putting my white flag up. I'm surrendering. I'm at a point where all I feel like I've done this season is try and calm every City fan down, or a lot of City fans down. And it isn't just a transfer window. This goes on after every point dropped, after every defeat, after it's like non-stop moan at the minute. And it baffles my brain. I'm like, we're not Liverpool, we're not Chelsea. What is everyone? Is everyone seeing a different thing I'm seeing? I sometimes feel like I'm on a different planet watching a different team.
Yeah, it's comical because, and Don Smoke's seen this because some of the content that we've been able to be a part of, but it's like, oh, it's a January transfer window. You have to spend money. There's no rule. There's no team or club management that says, oh, every transfer window there needs to be high level transactions. I get what Chelsea's doing. It's record breaking. It's record setting. We've never seen anything like this. But for some clubs to just be, this club is now spending, we need to match. That's not how things roll. And I want to point this out with regards to this squad that we have. There's players that we just acquired this past summer that we're trying to get up to speed and still flow. What sense would it make to get a player in a January window to just be reactionary for a stopgap or a temporary fix? That does not make any sense to me. And Don Smoke, I want to ask you this.
Yeah.
Did you, for what you saw from the entire league with regards to transfers, did it put the fear of God in you with regards to what you saw to then say City need to do something?
No, I think it just shows the state of the generation we're in. It's a consumer and microwave generation, right? Where they don't understand how football works. Let's say you go out and buy 3 players in January because you want to win the league. That's not going to happen. Because when you bring those players, you need to embed them in. They need to learn they need to first settle into the environment. It's like we see when we're recruiting, there's a reason why you have a probation period. Because your first 3 months, we don't expect any productivity from you. We don't.
Yeah.
Right. And hence I'm saying is that thing of whereby most of the people who have a loud opinion, they don't have experience of how things operate in the real world. Right. And that's the biggest issue. So you have a very loud minority whereby they come here and they talk about fantasies, or in FIFA I can buy a player and I can make him play how I want because I have the joystick. Well, things don't work out like that. Because you could buy a player and then that player who you bought gets injured next week in training. Then what? Right. So people are just, as I'm saying, a lot of people who don't have real world experience. Like now look at Chelsea. You buy 10 players, and because you want top 4, and all of them now struggle to fit in, then what?
Yeah.
Are you gonna go and buy another 10 players in the summer? So it's like when do you stop and actually assess the assets you have and see how to get the most off? Because this is when the manager comes into play. Because as a good manager knows how to maximize whatever they're working with. And normally I want my manager to show me how good they are in January, from January. Because this is where I'm like, okay, in summer, make all your acquisition you want. In January, manager, you've seen the first half, assess, evaluate, and see how to maximize. This is where I want to see how good a manager is, not go and then, because you're basically making the manager's job hard. Because whatever he taught his players the first 6 months, he now has to teach his new group. And you
have to play them. You just purchased them. You just got them. You have to play them, and then it can throw everything off. I think it's wild with how football's looked at in this day and time. And I'm not going to put it on the FIFA generation or those that play fantasy football manager and all those kind of things, but it does seem a little chaotic with how they think players are and how managers need to coach and do their thing. With regards to the City January transfer window and the confidence that was shown, is there a change? Let me ask this of you, Carl. Is there a change with regards to the second half of the season and any expectations? Like, has this January transfer window, plus or minus, however you look at it, has it changed your expectations to how you see the Premier League, the EPL season concluding for us?
Yes, it has.
Okay,
And
explain, please.
The cancer has been cancelled, and I expect the team to bond together now and fight for everything together. Give me 11 warriors than 12 chickens.
Mm-hmm.
I can win a battle with 11 warriors. I can win a battle with 10 warriors against 11 if you fight. Do you remember that
Yes.
game? Do you remember that game against Fulham when we went down, when he was sent off?
I do. Yeah.
What were the manager's comments after that game? If anybody recalls, I quote, "I am extremely happy I saw my team fight today. This is kind of what makes me want to stay longer." Paraphrasing.
Okay.
Right? 10
Yeah.
people who fought till the end and won that game against Fulham, where this same guy was sent off for making a stupid decision. Again, he's great, right? But defensively, the manager says, let the guy go. Okay, it's 1-0, 11 men on the field. You can get it back. But then you get sent off. So
fair point.
It's just no excuse, Victor. At the end of it, there's just no excuse. There is no argument or defense. Just simply wasn't. His head wasn't in the right place for the team.
And it happens. And again, he's not going to be. I'm not going to be overly critical of him. It's just recognizing it for what it is, and it's got to be a thank you. But we move on. I want to mention Martin Mancunian-Way had to drop off. He's getting prepared for his show that's coming up soon. So thanks for your contribution today, Martin, and go check out his channel right after this one, guys. Yes.
Just before we move on, I just want to touch what Gundo says. People don't understand that when it comes to elite knockout competition like the Champions League, it's games of margins, small margins to be exact, right? And we've lost it because of small margins, right? So now you need players who are going to give you 100% concentration for 90 plus minutes, and it's little moments whereby you can be in the 89th minute, 2 goals up against Madrid or 3 goals up, and then you're out. Just because so if we want to win these, look at that Barca team of Pep. They had elite mentality. Yeah. They won all the best. And left back, you had Abidal, who's not the greatest. In goal, they had Valdez. But these guys had elite mentality and concentration. And if you want to be that team, that's what you need. It's not just skill and how good you are ability-wise. No, it's can you stay focused from the first whistle till the last one. And as much as he was good, his lack of his moments where he lost concentration cost us a lot.
Agreed. Yeah, and True City fan, thanks for being on the channel, my friend. He also points out UCL needs mentality. So as we talk about competition, as we talk about the matches that we're going to be in, not only with the rest of the league, but even Champions League, there's a mentality that's needed. And we see it. We've seen it. You see it when you've played, and it's time to, everybody has the energy going forward, right? I'm going to use a very simple, generic example. But we see, this player has all the energy, all the effort going forward. Once that possession maybe is lost, they are pretty much running back like a turtle. it's that effort, it's that mentality, it's that fight that's needed to be consistent. And Cancelo had to be out the door, like Carl mentioned. We need to all be a collective on the same page with the same focus and mentality. I see the comments popping off. Thank you so much. Carl, as well as Don Smoke, talked about second half of the season, January transfer, incomings or not. The second half of the season, you write the club. You have the club set up the way you want it to be, with every player being on the same page, and now you go forward. And we go after the target that we have every year. We go out to win. That's what we do. I see the comments. Some of you were talking about the fan base and their overreaction at times because they've been a little spoiled with regards to the consistency of winning often and coming through. That is a fair want, desire, expectation of your club. But but the belief that a team is going to go undefeated is where you sometimes lose the plot a little bit. It's about looking at the competition, looking at the result, looking at some of the poor calls, looking at the poor performances by certain players. That's how you assess the losses and the wins as well. Let me try to catch up with these comments, but I want to throw it out to really briefly. And you know what? I'm gonna skip this. Those of you in the comments, apologies. I'm gonna skip this right now with regards to the Spurs versus City. All I'm gonna say with regards to that is, and I didn't even make that banner. My bad. But I'm gonna say this. Let's go in there. Get rid of this not scoring or not winning over at Tottenham. Let's get that curse out of here. We've seen it from the players. We've seen it from the manager. When there's been that type of obstacle, that type of hurdle in front of us, we raise our level and we dismiss it. We erase it. So I'm expecting the same. Previews of what we will be doing squad-wise and all of that jazz is coming down the pipeline with regards to the other channels I hope to feature on. But we'll get into that. Let me do this. Let me make sure that this is clean.
Vader game.
We've talked about Todd Boehly on pitch points. Fantastic topic. The man, new owner, was getting heavily criticized from the fan base. I said this on a previous show. If you missed it, tune into last week's show. But I talked about how Todd Boehly kind of took a page out of the Glazers. When the Glazers were kind of getting bashed by the fan base, you know what he did? Or you know what they did? They spent money. They got a big profile name, big profile players. Todd Boehly's done this on steroids. He's done it at another level. He was getting crushed for getting Tuchel out the door, bringing in Potter. He's getting crushed for not bringing in players that are going to lead them to success. So what does he do in the January transfer window? Has a record set spending in a January transfer window. I believe to date, from him acquiring the club to what he spent, it's nearly 700 million. It's next level. And I believe almost 500 of that was in this January transfer window. But I must say this. Todd Boehly is taking a huge gamble. Gunnar Lorians broke this down. I'm going to ask him to kind of say this. This gamble that Todd Boehly's taken, Carl, what does it hinge on? Can you speak to what this gamble and what it hinges on with regards to this season? And I believe as of now, this season, they are 9th in the league. What does this gamble hinge on for it to be successful for Todd Boehly?
Yeah. The gamble hinges on the fact that somehow Graham Potter is going to either make top 4 or win the Champions League this year and the year after. Because without those two things, in the kitty, Chelsea are in deep trouble.
Okay.
So the pressure is on now. Now, a man can spend the money how he wants. A man can do 8 years if he wants to do 8 years on his contract. That's his prerogative. But I want to diffuse or destroy this myth that somehow there is this loophole that nobody else knew about that Chelsea exploited. It's absolute nonsense. Okay? And here's why it's nonsense. All the directors of football all know this. They know that you can spread your costs out over 8 years for a player. Is it a wise thing to do? No, it is not. Because of the fact that football is unpredictable and it runs in cycles, and you need to have 3 to 5 year contract. You can renew the contract every 18 months if you want to see how the player performs. If they don't perform, when the player wants to leave, you can sell them and still make less of a loss. For example, Romelu Lukaku, 100 million, 5-year contract. He has 3 years left. Where is he right now, Peter? Inter Milan. Guess what?
Yeah.
Still on Chelsea's books, right? Still eating up capital on the books. Imagine if he was on an 8-year deal and didn't perform. What are you going to do? Are you going to sell him for 100 million? You can't get that money back. So you're going to keep paying the loan fee or paying his wages for the next 8 years because the guy ain't leaving. He's not going to renew his contract because you're obligated to pay it. Right? So
that's a good point. Yeah.
There's a reason why Tottenham, United, City, Liverpool, right? Who was the right? All those top 6, Arsenal, don't do these crazy 8-year contracts. They don't, because it makes no sense, especially because UEFA is saying, hey, Chelsea, you can do 8 years if you want to do 8 years. When we calculate FFP, or what the new FSR is, we're not doing 8 years, buddy. We're going to do 5 years. So all of a sudden, you buy a player for 8 years. When you go to Master FFP or Master UEFA to submit your reports, the headmaster saying, guy, I don't recognize your 8 years. My rule is 5 years. I'm going to recalculate your valuation based on that. And then you're screwed. Because now you pay too much, right? And you fail FFP, especially if you do not qualify for Europe and you don't have that revenue.
Yeah.
Or Vader, you end up in the Conference League as in 7th position. Has anybody thought about that?
Yeah, I hear some Chelsea fans doing mental gymnastics about the new coefficient decision that may be applied to teams with regard to the Champions League. You still need to have a favorable finish within the league. It's not like you can finish 7th and 8th and then you're going to be in Champions League.
That's in 2024, not 2023.
Yeah. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
What they're talking about is the fact that UEFA is saying, okay, now we're going to change the rules of who qualify for UCL. And based on English teams' performance in the UCL, we're going to give an extra spot to England. So now the top 5 makes Champions League. The problem is that's 2024-25 season, not 2023-24.
Yeah. And I want to throw this comment out, and I've been posting them while Carl was speaking, but this one specifically I'm going to say out loud. But Blue Heart goes, Potter will be gone soon. Hey, Todd Bowley invested in him long term, the same way he's doing with his players. But I would agree with you. I could see Potter being out the door, and I could see Chelsea fans with this crazy logic. Don Smoke has seen this often. They go through managers almost every 18 months, maybe less. And every time a new manager comes in and they have a little skid, they're not doing their thing. What do the fan base say? They're not his players. He needs to get his players through the door. This amount of spending and this length of contracts that have been given to these players, that talking point is dead. There's no, these aren't his players. No, these are Chelsea players. These 8-year-long contracts, these are Chelsea players. No manager is going to get a Bly to be able to vet in and bring in other players. That is over with. Over with.
I feel shame for Potter, right? And I'll tell you, I'll give an analogy why I feel shame for him. Imagine you're an athlete, right? And you're doing well at 100 meters. And then your manager's like, you know what? Since you're good at 100 meters, I can actually register you for all types of races. Right? 100, 200, 400, 800, 1.5, all the way up to 5 and 10,000. All the way down to the marathon, and he invests so much money in all of these, right?
Yeah.
And then now he's like, you know what? And then he's like, by the way, you need to win all these races.
Just because you've shown levels at one thing does not mean you can go on to bigger and better or bigger and greater demands.
And that was Potter. Like all he showed was, okay, I can play some good football at Brighton. So okay, by the way, you good at that. I got a million other things that I want you to do for me. And I expect you to do all of them to the T. And that's Potter, like dear Potter. He's there and they just bring in, okay, you're gonna bring in this player, and this is the Glazers' route, and this is what people don't understand. This is what the Glazers were doing with United. Just buy the best star that's out there,
Yes.
throw him in.
Yeah.
How they fit into whatever you're trying to build, that's your problem. All I know is
Yeah.
he's. Oh, I read something on Twitter that he's a good player, so he must be a good player. There you go. Have him.
Todd Bowley's playbook, is
And
just
and what's next is he'll want these players to play. Because imagine if Potter comes to a conclusion that no, I don't think Enzo is good for what I'm trying to do. He'd be like, no, we spend so much money on Enzo, and that was the Pogba and whatever Ronaldo conundrum, whereby we bought the star, he has to play. How he plays, I don't care. Whether it's centre back or right back or centre forward, I don't care. This player has to play, and that's the route they're going. Because you can't tell me that you buy Enzo and then if Potter's not happy with the way he plays, Bowley would be like, okay, it's fine. Let's just leave 120 million on our bench.
right. No, it's crazy. And I'm gonna get to your question, McLovin. I see it and I started. But Chelsea, Todd Bowley specifically, I know he was done dirty with what Barca did to him in the summertime. The transfer windows, him not getting the players that he wanted, that was brutal. He seems to be that guy that's like, if you can't beat him, join him. So he is spending big. Barca did pull all their levers. They did what they had to do. He's spending big this transfer window. Not only did he steal the approach from what Barca did, but he's stealing the playbook for what the Glazers have done. And he's been stealing other teams' scouting because he's just been poaching other players throughout this entire transfer window. So the man's doing his thing. Credit to him. But it's a huge gamble. It's a huge gamble, and it's going to lead into my last topic. But I will get to your question, McLovin. Don't go anywhere. But I'm going to get to that. And I'm going to get to everyone's comments, actually. Let me do that really quickly before I do. Blue Heart goes, Potter. Oh, I said that already. So the next manager will be very nervous. So who will go there under that pressure before he starts? That's exactly right. Like, who's going to go under that level of pressure? It's going to take a very interesting manager, whether they're going to be green.
Some people will.
Yeah, someone, of course, it's a big club, but whether it's going to be someone that's going to be green, wanting to take advantage of an opportunity, or someone established, it is going to be interesting. But it is an amazing project. Look at the wealth of talent of players that's going to be surrounded.
I'll tell you what I would like, Vader, is I would like him to win a few games and succeed just a little bit, right? But just shy of top 4, maybe 2 points off top 4, right? Keep him in the Europa League and a Conference League for the next 3 years. Let's see what happens.
I would like that too. I've got a lot of Chelsea fans, and I would like to see that.
And it's not hate. I've been on many Chelsea fans. I keep saying, guys, why is nobody asking these questions?
Yeah. No, they're ostriches. They're ostriches with their heads in the sand. They don't want to talk about it.
We hear that you guys used a factoring company to close the transaction for Enzo Fernandez. Why is nobody asking the question? Why are we using the factoring company? If we can afford to pay the release clause with our own cash, and we have to go to a payday loan lender to do so, who's going to factor our revenues, what this means is basically saying a company is going to lend you the money, right? Because you can't get a line of credit or you can't go to the bank. We're going to give you the money, and then every payment that you get from the Premier League, every revenue stream, every month, they're going to take a piece of that.
It's accounted for. Exactly. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And then they'll charge you probably 21, 22%.
Yep. No, almost nothing's liquid. Everything is going to be accounted for. Everything's going to be spoken for.
Why is nobody at Chelsea asking these questions? I was so euphoric with the fact that we got this Enzo for 120 million when it cost Benfica 10 million, that no one's asking the question.
It's the Glazer playbook in a different way. The Glazers got their ownership of the club without even spending $1. And now Todd Bowley is getting all these acquisitions player-wise, and he's just extending things beyond a reasonable threshold and thinks he's gaming the system. It's absolutely crazy.
Well,
now
the argument that could come back to me is, well, he went to London School of Economics. I'm like, okay, Didn't the same guys who went to Harvard and Yale and LSE also
Yeah.
cause the subprime crisis and cause the crypto crisis? Have we not learned anything?
Now, I want to say this. I want to say this, Carl. And those of you in the chat, thank you so much. I will get to your comments, and I'm going to be very quick because I know Martin's live with his show. We've talked about Chelsea and the gamble that they've taken with regards to how they've invested in their players. Other than Chelsea, Don Smoke, Carl, whichever you want to jump in here, but I'm going to say this. Who's other than Chelsea, who's most desperate for this top four? There's still another half of the season to be played off. Who's most desperate for this top four? Because let me say this, because I've heard that Jude Bellingham is already going to Liverpool. I find that hard to believe, but they say that he's already going to Liverpool. We've got United that have spent, and they obviously have aspirations to be competing again. Ted Hogg on his mission and on his project or whatever. But a lot's needed in terms of new signings and players coming in if you're in top four, if you're playing for Champions League. Other than Chelsea, who's most desperate?
You forgot one name here, Newcastle United.
Okay. I
mentioned at the start of the season, Don Smoke, I said that there is going to be one team that's going to disrupt everything this season in the top four, and that was Newcastle. And why did I say that? Because I looked at the data. As of July last year, before the season started, I looked at the most informed team in the Premier League was Newcastle United.
Yeah.
I was so bold. I went onto a show with Newcastle fans, John Sinclair and the Toonami. I went on their show, 2 shows, and I told them, you guys are going to make Europe this year. They didn't believe me. I told them, you're going to make Europe this year. Now, did I think they're going to make Champions League? No. But here they are today, third. Best defense in the league, in the Carabao Cup final, playing good football, and they're hard to beat.
Yeah.
So Liverpool, not Newcastle are there. Chelsea and Liverpool, I don't think they make it, frankly. United are there. And then Tottenham have an outlier. They're an outlier, but they can make it.
Yeah.
Arsenal, City, United, 3. And there's one spot for the rest of them. Don't smoke.
Funny enough, just like Carl, I think it was RDS's stream, right? Red Devil Studios. I went there and I told them that Newcastle's making top 4, and they all laughed at me. Right. I told them they're making top 4. I didn't even say Europe. I was like, they're making top 4. I had City winning it. I had Liverpool second. I didn't expect them to go this bad.
Yeah,
and
no one did.
I didn't expect Ten Hag to get things going smoothly so soon. Or it's either that Tottenham just fell off. Right. Who's most desperate? Chelsea, they're beyond desperate. For them, they would buy the spots if it was up to Tottenham. So for them, it's beyond desperation. Like Liverpool need it in terms of revenue and the whole Jude thing, because they've let so many midfielders go with hope of Jude is coming in. And for Jude, it doesn't make sense leaving Champions League at Dortmund to come and play Europa or Conference or nothing at Liverpool, because then it seems as if you're going backwards and not forward. So
the reason
go on.
No, go ahead.
So for them, it's beyond desperate because they need the finances, right? They need the finances. Else they'll be left with the academy boys in midfield with that 40-year-old Fabinho.
Yeah. Now, this desperation is real because I believe that the road to getting back to challenging for the league becomes exponentially harder if you're not in that top 4. So any club that does not finish in the top 4 this year, I don't believe they can confidently say they're challenging for the league next season. I think there's that domino effect. So and then we can have that conversation with regards to talent wanting to come to your club if you're not playing for Champions League matches. Yeah.
And I think for Klopp as well, because remember, there's always been this this curse for Klopp whereby after a certain period he falls off.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for Jurgen himself, because look at the drop off, challenging for the quad to losing your quad or your legs, and then
Yeah.
now, and then now, you don't even have a hope of getting conference. And
Yeah.
to your point, it only gets harder next season because if you notice, the teams around the top four are getting harder and much more stronger because of revenue also going into them. So once you fall off now, good luck because they might have to sell Salah.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And that was spoke about too. And that's going to be shoot. That's going to have to be a topic for sure. But I want to hey, I want to continue to show respect to you guys. It's been an hour and 50 minutes. Fantastic interaction convo. This can continue on, and I'm sure it will be. I'm going to put this comment on screen as we kind of like move out. And again, thank you all. If you hit that like button, I'm appreciative. If you haven't, please hit it now. And I'm going to do my best at the very least have a show a week. All right. But this has been great. We're going to talk more, obviously, on as I feature on other channels. But right now, this last comment or question from McLovin we'll deal with, and then we're going to move on to the Mancunian Ways channel as well. So McLovin goes, my question is, does Holland's record in big games against competent defenses worry anyone? He seems to strive against mid-table or relegation teams. That's that's when he kind of comes alive. I'm gonna ask you this, Carl, if you caught it, cool, I can read it out again. But basically, McLovin's asking, is Holland's, I guess, dominance against mid teams a concern because we don't see it against the bigger team?
I think the answer to your question, McLovin, is a good question, is to look at the envelope of his work as a football player. Right.
So his like entire career, not just the span.
He scored against Liverpool, scored against Paris Saint-Germain. He scored against, I believe, the Liverpool. He scored against Liverpool. In the Premier League, he scored, I believe, against United, a hat trick. Right, they're third in the league or fourth in the league. Against Tottenham, he scored a goal. Right, even though we haven't scored many goals against them. So the only team he hasn't scored against was just Chelsea. And was it Liverpool? Did he score against Liverpool? I think did he? I believe he did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Carabao Cup, right? Yeah, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did. So the only team he hasn't scored against is just Chelsea. That's it.
You know, to add to Carl, I think it's all about.
Go ahead.
I'm saying it's all about chance creation. At the end of the day, he's an old school number 9, whereby give him the chance and he finishes it. In the games which we've struggled to create chances, he struggled to score. And that's what it is. Right? You can have a chef in the kitchen. If you don't give him any food, he won't cook. That doesn't mean he's a bad cook.
Right.
Like, are you going to be mad at the chef for coming out empty-handed if you didn't give him any supplies to cook? So it's what it is. The games we've struggled to create chances, he hasn't scored. Name me a game whereby we created chances left, right, and center, and he's failed to score. I don't think you can name one. He'll either score or assist. So it's all up to our attacking players. If they give him the chance, and he scored chances that were.
Yeah, sorry, Don. Go ahead, finish up. Yeah,
I'm thinking, and he scored chances which weren't even clear-cut chances. So I think that's something which someone who just looks at numbers would say. If you really watch the games, you're going to see.
Also, if you think about the Champions League, which is his competition, which is what he loves, right? The two biggest games in our group stage were Dortmund and Sevilla. Remember those two games?
Yeah. Yep.
Right? He scored in both games.
Yeah.
Remember that goal he scored for us against Dortmund, the bicycle kick in the air with his foot. Again, you have to look at the body of work and not just a Carabao Cup game or a game against Chelsea and say, well, he didn't score against them, so I'm kind of worried. He's been here for 5-6 months. And so far, 31 goals in how many games?
Exactly. And I must say this. I want to thank Don Smoke. I want to thank Carl at Pitch Points. Their details are in the description to this video right now. Show them support, subscribe to their Twitter handle, to their YouTube channels. I want to point this out. Please go over to the Mancunian Way. Many of you came over from True City Fan and Pitch Points to this channel. Now we're going to go and check out the Mancunian Way. Hopefully you all have that time. And I want to point this out. as many questions as we have about the squad right now, this is year one together. Let's remember this: Alvarez, Holland, Phillips, Gomez, and we got Maximo coming over. This is year one. These guys, and I know it's tough. I know it's tough to think about next season, but it's going to be a problem next year, guys. When we see what Pep does when he's got the ingredients and he's preheated the oven and the stove and everything is cooking, it's going to be nice. So shout out to everyone in the comments. Love. I didn't get to every comment, but I will do a better job moving forward. And I'm going to, on a separate video, I will highlight everyone that subscribed to this channel. I'm 200 plus now, and I'm so grateful for it, guys. Head over to the Mancunian Way. Carl, Don Smoke, thank you so much. Anything you want to shout out before we go? The stage is yours, my friends.
I just want to say, just keep the faith. We've been here before. We've been here before many times, not once, not twice, not three times. And we know how to get to the finish line. I told you before, guys, that I have a funny feeling this season is going to be special. The season is going to be special. And I'm hoping it starts in February when we start playing those 7 games that we need to do what we need to do to get to the end line.
100.
Yep. Vader.
100.
Great show, Vader. Give him a thumbs up and a subscription. Just like Carl said, experience should give you calmness and composure in hard times. We've been here, we have the know-how. And that's the most important thing. You can have as much confidence as you want, but having the know-how is priceless. And we've done this before. We've been up against a harder team, which some said that they were the best PL team, the PL team ever, and we beat them. So, and just have faith. Pep knows what he's doing. He's done this in different countries. He knows how to cross the line. And in the league, experience is vital. So, great show again. Head over to the Mancunian. It's been a great day so far.
It's been nice, man. Head over. And again, not only do you need this, City fans, you also need this strength in both areas. Let's go. Let's stay strong amongst each other and support each other. And head over to the Mancunian Way. It's going to be a fantastic preview, and I think talk about this Spurs upcoming matchup. I'm Vader Games. Why always me? Episode 65, my peeps. You always come first. Thank you so much. And check out the next show. I'm out. Peace.